It is Saturday, August 1st, 4 a.m. Denver time. And the reason I'm huffing and puffing is because I just pushed my motorcycle down my block from my house to this parking lot in the name of neighborhood peace. Man, I did not want to wake up my neighbors this early in the morning with the sound of this exhaust firing up. I don't ever leave this early, and I've got the most awesome neighbors, man, on the planet, and I really do love them to death, and I respect them, and we all look out for one another, and I just don't want to disturb them by starting up this loud ass vehicle of mine. Anyway, today is August 1st, Saturday. It is actually 4 o'clock on the dot. Look at that. 4 o'clock a.m. and the moon is still out. Full moon, beautiful, beautiful moon. And today is the Sink the Planet ride, where motorcycle riders from all across the globe are riding at this same time, right now. And in fact, I wanted to send a message to my buddy in New Mexico, fellow motovlogger Triumphant. Let's see, I was supposed to text him here. Let's see here. Send a text message to Triumphant.
Okay, what do you want to say to Trek fans?
Hey, brother, period. Have a great ride this morning, period. I am riding with you in spirit, period. Have a great time in the land of enchantment.
Ready to send it?
Yes.
I'll send it.
There it is. So I've got my fellow motovlogger, my buddy Triumphant in Albuquerque, New Mexico, who is also doing the Sink the Planet ride. And let's just see here. What time is it in Paris?
The time in Paris, France is 12:02 p.m.
12 o'clock. This is the time. I'm right on time, you know. So it was agreed upon that on August 1st, there would be a group ride, basically. A group ride virtually from around the planet for, with motovloggers and motorcyclists from around the freaking planet. I mean, with a, with the purpose being, the intention being, the reason being world peace. And that's what makes this so cool, is that this is not about just a whole bunch of motorcyclists riding together, on the same date and at the same time. It really is riding with a purpose, It really is about riding with intention. And man, I really, really respect that about, how do I get out of here? I really, really respect that about Docman, because Docman rides out of Ontario, Canada. This was really born out of his brain, And sure, there are a bunch of others out there who are all on the same page and contributing, but he wanted to make sure that we brought some focus, so we brought some attention to the issue of world peace. And that's the topic that I want to talk about today. Now, I am not going to lie, man. I mean, the topic of world peace is is huge. You know, it's massive. I mean, how do you even wrap your arms around addressing world peace? I mean, and I, so I can't even begin to you know, even kind of fathom the enormity of that all. I mean, and once you start thinking about history, and has there ever been a point in time where the world has been at peace? I mean, then you really start to just kind of starts to really blow your mind, you know. So I mean, when I think about, for me, when I think about world peace, and what does that mean for me and my life, man, world peace really just has to do with the peace and the calm and the positivity that I am able to create in my own world. You know, I mean, I can't even take it to scale. You know, I mean, I can't even try to expand my own sphere of influence or my own area of control to the world. You know, I mean, I can't even do that. So I think when I think about world peace, I think about what I can control. I mean, that's what I have influence over. And the number one piece that I can control, the number one piece that I have influence over, is my own actions, you know? My own actions, how I interact with others is how I can contribute, I guess, in a small way to world peace. And as I've gotten older, man, I really feel like I have tried to actively build that into my life. You know, tried to actively build in positivity, peace, calmness. I try to surround myself with good people, and I try to say thank you when I don't have to say thank you. I try to own up to the mistakes that I've made and apologize for them. You know, I try to you know, and I don't want to come off as preachy, man, because gosh, I am so far from perfect. You know, I'm not claiming that at all. But I think as I've gotten older, I really have just grown in the area of, I mean, I've really matured. I mean, that sense of maturity is noticeable. You know, it really is noticeable that I now will go out of my way to try to help people out. You know, I was actually traveling once, and I flew into this airport, actually in New Mexico, believe it or not. So I was actually heading out to New Mexico for my job, and I flew into the airport. I flew into the airport there, and when I got there, man, I was just treated really bad. Actually, I was ignored is what it was. I was ignored by the attendant at the rental car place. You know, so I had to rent a car. And when I got to the rental car place, I actually was ignored. And I say that I was ignored because I was skipped over, you know. And the guy who was at the counter, there was one guy over there, there's this huge line, and you know, totally skipped over me, and you know, I felt like I was wronged. Anyway, to make a long story short, what happened was another customer service representative came up to the counter and said, "Sir, may I help you? Sorry to keep you waiting." He brought me up to the desk, and by that point, I was so pissed because all of this waiting and all of the skipping over and all of this was going to make me late for this meeting that I was going to have. And I was so mad and I was so pissed. And the guy, the second customer service rep, called me up. He put out his hand to shake my hand, and I was so pissed. I shook my head. I didn't want to shake his hand. I seriously, I did not want to shake his hand. And I shook my head. And oh man, I mean, talk about disrespect. I disrespected that guy, you know? Anyway, he treated me still with respect. He dealt with this disgruntled customer, me, and he kept a smile on his face, and he did an awesome job about it. Anyway, man, I left. I went to my meetings, and I was flying back to Denver that same day. So I went back to the airport, and I was so hoping I was going to see him there, and luckily he was there. And I went up to him, and I apologized profusely to him for disrespecting him. I thanked him for having the patience to deal with my dumb ass, and he was so gracious, man. I mean, it was just he was just an awesome example. Like, I learned from that guy, and he had to have been like at least 10 years younger than me, you know, at least 10 years younger than me. I mean, I learned from one of the youngsters how to instill world peace, how to instill positivity. I mean, man, I really thanked him a lot, and it just goes to show that you can learn from those who are younger, those from are older. You can learn from your own actions. I can control my actions, right? I can step up and say I'm sorry, and I was wrong, and try to calm a situation down. But you rarely see that in the adult world, man. I mean, you really do. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. Again, I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone, or that I'm perfect, or you know, that I'm any different than others. But it trips me out, man, when I see world freaking leaders who are treating other world leaders, who are treating other adults like children, you know, or they're acting in ways they are actually acting in ways that we teach our children not to act. You know, we teach our children to treat others with respect, to say sorry if you stepped on their toes. But you see, I mean, world leaders, you see just local leaders, you see leaders of my country, I mean, in our Congress, who just are disrespecting other members of Congress, who are disrespecting others, who are not apologizing, who will not apologize. Oh man, and these are things that we teach our children not to do. We teach our children to apologize and say sorry and say thank you, and you know, oh man, it trips me out that adults are acting in that way. And you know what? Last thing. This is the last thing I'm going to say, is that when I talk about what I can control in my sphere of influence, I mean, I think about my actions and how they are taken by others, notably my child. You know, and you know, I want to try and act in ways that are as positive as possible, because I know my child is looking. I mean, you could take this to the YouTube space if you wanted to, and say that that young people are watching these videos. You know, those who are interested in getting into the motorcycling game, or the motovlogging game maybe, are watching these videos. And when you see people acting in ways that are negative, acting in ways that are just that are counter to world peace. I mean, kicking in doors. You know, if someone cuts in front of them while they're on a motorcycle, or knocking off their mirror. You know, I mean, you don't see too many motovloggers doing that, because you know, I think when you do see that online, it's usually folks who are just strapping a camera to their helmet. and are just gonna post something up anonymously. But man, you know, and when you see those types of things, I mean, it sets a bad example, I think, you know, and I think that I think that people are watching, you know. I think children are watching. I think youngsters, I think just anybody, you know, no matter the age, is watching, and oftentimes might be looking up to you, you know. I mean, you may not think so, or you may not think that you have some influence, but I know my child is watching me, and I know people online are watching me, and I'm not saying I'm a role model or anything like that, but I will say that my actions, you know, have a ripple effect, and I do know that from experience because I am a former teacher. You know, I taught middle school for years. I taught high school for years, and I know that as a teacher, I mean, what you model is oftentimes what is picked up by the young people in the classroom. So, anyway, with that, I want to say ride with confidence to all of the other motorcyclists around the freaking planet who are riding at this same time, at this same moment. I am proudly riding with you right now. Ride with confidence, my friends, my people. Head up 100%. Yeah, this is SoopaBee. Oh man, I can't believe I'm doing this. So as to not wake my neighbors, I'm actually pushing my bike to the end of my block so that I could start the Sink the Planet ride.